The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. Furthermore, the views, opinions, and insinuations made by the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the show, the organization, and the entirety of the university.
A very good morning, afternoon, or evening, or wherever you are, Spartans. I know that, like myself, you are anticipating our third episode. Now, to those who are listening right now, I hope that you have with you some snacks, coffee, or some readings perhaps to highlight as you join and we tackle yet another interesting Career Path podcast episode today.
And of course, good day mga ka-Polsai, ka-readings at mga ka-resits, and buckle up for a new episode of POLeisipan Career Path podcast series, the one and only podcast made to converse and to reach out to the political science students or aspiring political science students. And once again, I am Ange, your go-to gal for all things vintage, and together again with me is no other than my handsome co-host, the Grant to my Hepburn, Jeho. And join us as we talk about political science, the career paths after Pol-Sci, and we have to love our course even more. Isn't this exciting, partner? And by the way, you are looking dashing as per usual.
Grabe naman yun, partner. Parang ako na yung speaker sa pag-introduce mo. But anyways, thank you so much. And of course, you're looking beautiful as ever. Sa mga makakasama naman namin dyan sa YouTube, don't you just agree? Kasi kapag hindi kayo nag-agree, hahabulin kayo na ni Ange. Kaya, but anyways, Ange, alam mo, maipabalik ko lang sa tanong mo. I'm really pumped and I'm really excited. In fact, kagabi ko pa to iniintay para maumpisahan naman yung episode na to because, this episode is very close to my heart. It's something that I know that I'll be able to relate to, and hopefully you'll be able to relate to, and also our listeners. And I'm just really pumped. I'm really excited. So, once again, welcome back to POLeisipan Career Path podcast series, the podcast that teaches you all about things political science has for you and how this discipline caters to any career path you would like, whether it be the law, the academe, international relations, or even public administration. So, and mind you, Anja, political science is not just about politics per se. It also has its own practices, its trainings, its directions, and also its own branch of knowledge, which is also interdisciplinary in nature.
Grabe, ang taas naman ng energy kuha mo naman yun, partner, and I love it. Pero alam mo, ask your friends and ask your blockmates, will you take law after college? And most likely, the answer you'll get is a yes. And in fact, I do have a little fact for you, no? Alam mo ba na the number of alumni of political science who are now practicing lawyers are 66%? Malay mo, partner, we hear this later on throughout our podcast.
Ano ba? But grabe, that 66% both surprising, I guess, and it's both because alam mo yun, thing fact kasi especially na Pol-Sci is seen up there along Legma, philosophy as top 3 law courses here in the country, and it's not really that surprising to hear it either. Ako siguro personally, if I were to ask my block, a few would actually not take law for after their 4 years in college. I have this classmate, shout out kay Topi. Hi Topi, but anyway, she actually plans to take up medicine after political science, and I'm really excited for her. I'm really happy for her, and especially for us who will be tackling law afterwards. Don't you agree, Ange?
Yes, I totally agree. And even if you take one course, that doesn't mean that you can only take a certain career na dun lang talaga sa course na yun. Because honestly, it's very limitless what career you would choose. And I personally have a lot of plans in the future, but I know to myself, there's really no final yet. Kasi throughout the 4 years that we will be tackling political science, madami pa tayong matututunan. So partner, hindi naman na siguro sa atin bago, no, na ang ganyang scenario na, well, most of our relatives, friends, and family members expect that political science students to eventually go to law school. And minsan nga ang akala sa akin law student, because people tend to think of Pol-Sci is also the study about law, and constitution lang naman ang sakop ng kurso natin. And I'd love to ask, why is that the case, and have you also experienced the same?
Really, Edge, on my part naman, I've also, I think it's already a given in Filipino families. They'll either ask you one or two things. Number one is anong course mo sa college, and number two, if that course is either a pre-law or something that will relate to law, they'll ask, so maglo-law school ka. So syempre, andun yung excitement din nila sa'yo, especially ako, if ever I continue my walk in law school, I'll actually be the first lawyer in the family, and I guess that's really a privilege to have. And it's really a popular belief, no, that political science students will study the law and would always be future compañeros and compañeras. Pero alam mo, Ange, tamang-tama talaga yung mga tanong mo kasi indeed, it's very timely since we have a very special and exciting guest today who will help us understand how or why political science becomes a usual pre-law course, and what is it for political science students to be future lawyers and treat this as an ideal career path.
That's right, Je. And by the way, wag po kayong malilito sa speaker namin ha. Kalma lang tayo. Wala po tayong recitation dito sa podcast na ito. Kaya you can all just relax and sit and take a deep breath and get yourselves ready, because today we're taking an in-depth look on why most political science students use the discipline as a foundation to their law school journey and law as a profession. And plus, how it is helpful for them to survive not just law school but also law as a career path. From fictional lawyers like attorneys Elle Woods to Atticus Finch, to like the greats like former U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, to our very own Jose W. Jokno. And I am honestly just super excited at this point, partner.
Funny excitement, partner. Pa-picture na lang dyan. Kidding, but before we begin, syempre, we have to remind our viewers, we have to remind our listeners in a very, I guess, influencer way, no? We just want to remind you that you may like and follow our official social media accounts at UST-TPSF on Facebook and at UST_TPSF on Instagram and Twitter for you to be updated on what's happening in our organization. Ikaw ba, partner, nakapag-like and follow ka na ba sa pages na yon?
Grabe ka naman sa akin. Oo naman. Hello, kulang na nga lang maging top fan badge ako eh. Pero actually, chinek ko, as I think that was the other day, chinek ko, top fan badge ako, and you know what, TPSF, baka naman, bigyan niyo ako medal dyan. Pero just kidding, without further ado, today, join us as we all have our special guest, our very own Judge Rigor Pascual, to capture and live in the image of political science graduate turned to a lawyer. He will also be sharing to us how political science students contribute to the profession and what skill sets were developed for the career.
I am so excited and I'm so pumped and I'm absolutely loving it, Ange. Alam mo, hindi pa tayo nagsastart, I'm really feeling the adrenaline inside me. Now, without further ado, to open our third episode, virtual drum roll please, we will be entering the world of law.
So hey, bago tayo magsimula, partner, short trivia muna tayo. And what better way to wake up but to get our blood flowing, di ba, Je? And so for that, I have brought some fun facts, partner. Kaya ikaw din ba?
Of course naman, partner, no, hindi ako magpapatalo dyan. So, for our first trivia, did you know that from the past two batches who graduated the program in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, only one managed to secure the prestigious cum laude position? That's none other than our former president of the UST-TPSF, Miss Anne Grande. And balita ko, she's also taking up her Bachelor of Laws degree at the UST Faculty of Civil Law. So, if ever man magka-F2F na, pwede tayo magpa-picture lang sa main building, ganun, tamang exposure lang.
Actually, partner, yan talaga pinaka-kina-excite ko sa face-to-face to meet all of these very extraordinary people, ano? And of course, syempre, gusto ko makilala si Ate Anne para naman ma-bless tayo ng kanyang katalinuhan. Kaya, ito naman, partner, did you know that 66% of graduates from the political science program pursued a degree in law? This is according to the current data posted by the Political Science Alumni Database. And now, for all the alumni out there listening listening or watching today's episode, or who would have yet to fill on the alumni database or join the newly created UST Political Science Alumni Facebook group, the links to these materials will be posted on the publicity materials of today's episode on UST TPSF Facebook page. So, Je, without further ado, ikaw naman na mag-introduce sa ating special guest speaker for today.
It would be again my pleasure, Ange. Now, for the third installment of our series, to know more about him, our speaker is also currently the Regional Trial Court at Large, acting as the presiding judge of Branch 14, Malolos, Bulacan. He's also a lecturer at the Faculty of Arts and Letters in the University of Santo Tomas for the past 10 years up until the present. Judge Rigor Pascual also obtained his Bachelor of Arts degree, major in Political Science, cum laude, and Bachelor of Laws degree, where he graduated class salutatorian in 2008, both from the University of Santo Tomas. He was also a founding member of the AB Debate Parliament and a senior member of the Thomasian Debaters Council, and currently serves as its advisory council. As a successful lawyer, his expertise range from the practice of general counseling, criminal, civil and corporate litigation, labor, and corporate documentation.
Okay, so I do hope you've caught your breath after that amazing briefer, and grabe, mapapasana all na lang talaga ako. But at the same time, we are so grateful to welcome a distinguished alumnus of the Department of Political Science, Judge Rigor Pascual.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to everyone.
Welcome,
Hello po,
Judge.
Now, thank you very much, Judge, for accepting talaga our invitation. And it is such a pleasure to have you here as our guest for our third installment. Now, as freshman students, we've heard a lot po about you, sir, and I'm very happy that we can already talk to you. Our ates and kuyas have so many memories and so many stories po about you in your classes, especially now during the pandemic. But don't worry, all good things naman po. Wala namang
Okay.
Actually, I agree with that, partner. And to start the ball rolling, first on our agenda and topic, we would like to ask po, Judge, this is somehow a personal question po on how were you as a political science student before, and how did political science inspire you to become a lawyer?
Well, to begin with, I have to start off with a disclaimer. Our curriculum before was not what you have right now. It's a different curriculum. Actually, I was the last. We were part of the last batch that covers the curriculum of Doc Dennis, Zenia, all of those other professors senior professors right now. Unlike you, di ba? We only start our political science degrees during our third or junior years. Okay, so we start our political science during our third year and fourth year, okay, and with the fourth year. Now, as your first question of what's your first question again? I'm sorry. What is how am I as a student of political science? Well, of course, anything that I say will be self-serving. So I'm going to quote a friend of mine, my former classmate, Flor Bueno. She said that I am a very energetic student. You can't see me not do anything. I'm an officer of the forum. I'm a debater. I am a class officer. So if I'm not debating, if I'm not doing a paper, if I'm not studying, if I'm not organizing an event, diba, you won't see me in the university. So I'm very active. I'm a very active student, a very active student leader, a very responsible student, if I may say so. So that's who I am. I'm very involved with the forum. I do not lose track of my studies, diba? Overall, I'm a good kid, if I would say so. I'm not the smartest one. I have to say that I'm not the smartest one. There are a lot of people who are smarter than me. Kat Dao, Eric Rabiloza, one of my batchmates. They're smarter than me, diba? So I'm just this regular guy that debates, that organizes events, diba? And the like, okay? So insofar as how did Pol Sci push me to become a lawyer?
Yes,
Actually, no, it didn't push me. Pol Sci even confused me if I really want to be a lawyer. Because if coming in, you know that you want to become a lawyer, diba? Because that's how you are programmed to, diba? That's how you're programmed to think. If you enter to POLSI, you go to law school. That's a conventional wisdom. However, as you take up your different major subjects, compa, IR, PolFoc, GEP, etc., you get to think. You will think, this is not law, but I like it. So instead of you gravitating towards law school, you find yourself at a loss, because you find yourself in a discipline that you will love eventually. Hindi siya love at first sight. It's a love that you will learn. So, as I've said, POLSI didn't really push me to go to law school. POLSI confused me more. If that will be helpful for you. I think some of you would have that particular feeling right about during your third year, fourth year period. So,
Starting
I think
from now
that's what I can say. Yes, based on experience.
I agree po, Judge. We also, syempre, as first years, we have those high hopes talaga na, I want to be a lawyer after 4 years when I hopefully graduate. And siguro, yun nga po, we'll really see as the progress goes on as we move on this academic life. Siguro, Judge, may pa-follow up lang po ako na question if it's alright. You mentioned po that you were a debater and you were also one of the founding members of the AB Debate Parliament.
Yeah.
And there, I have seen some friends post that, you don't need to be a good debater to be a lawyer. What could you say po about that? And especially that, syempre, we have to cross-examine, we have to study also our the opposition and such.
You don't have to become a good debater to become a good lawyer. I don't know about that, but what I can say is this. Debating really helped me survive law school. Debating really helped me. Why? Diba? Because in law school, you're told that you don't know anything, that you're wrong. Diba? And the worst part of it is at times you can't even defend yourself why you feel that you're correct. You can't even ask your professor, why am I wrong? Now, debate let me accept that there are certain things that I cannot change, that people have different opinions, diba? And there are people who are great thinkers, diba? That even if you try to argue, you'll find yourself at the losing end. Diba? So, for me, if I get scolded by my trainers, Attorney Maneja, Attorney Garcina, Attorney Ordas, Attorney Cortez, the late Ma'am Beth Inuturan, even if they scold me, I take it with a grain of salt because I know that it will benefit me at the end of the day. So I brought that in law school. So in law school, you will see people standing up for hours, diba? Being scolded at times, being called names. And I take it in stride. I don't cry. I didn't cry. I didn't mourn. I didn't drink myself to sleep, diba? Because I was trained well. I was trained to accept that there are things that I cannot change, that there are things that I cannot persuade. There are people that I cannot persuade. And the best thing that I could do is to present my side at the best logical and the most the most logical, the most comprehensive, and the most natural way possible. So that's how it helped me. I think it helped me a lot. Together with my POLSI degree, the debating really helped me in law school.
I agree po. Honestly, I've actually been thinking to join the debate, but I'm not sure if I would cut out for it, but we will see po. But that's actually super interesting po, Judge Rigor. And personally, even if I'm not yet in law school, I would like to think that there are also lots of similarities between law and political science, especially in terms of the studying habits, the number of readings that we have, and extremely tense recitations as well. So I can also see po that most of our alumni on our alumni database are now lawyers. And for you po, Judge, how is POLSI interrelated to law, or is it even related to it in the first place?
Okay, substance wise rather, there's no relevant connection between pol sci and law. Those are two different disciplines. But what connects pol sci with law is the discipline that they both share. Okay. In pol sci, you're asked to read a lot, right? You have your tons, not kilograms, tons and tons of readings na ang labo-labo na nung kopya. Diba? You have pages and pages of journal articles. You have books, a lot of books from two or three professors. Diba? So it is incumbent upon you for you to read and understand all of those. And when you go to law school, the same demands are present. So the discipline that pol sci is teaching you is the same thing that you're going to use in law school. How to manage your time properly. Diba? How you study smart as much as possible. Now, you don't need to read it for three times or more. You just have to read it once, understand it well, and then you go on. Diba? This is something that pol sci is teaching you. You don't need to memorize. Diba? When Professor Castillo or Professor Season or Professor Aquino ask you to recite, they don't ask you to verbatimly answer what is indicated in your journal articles. They ask you, how do you understand it? Diba? Kapag ginawa mo yan kay Ma'am Zenia, walk-outan ka nun. Because we trained you to understand and analyze. And that kind of training is the same training that you're going to need in order to survive for law school. So again, I said, substance-wise, you don't need Plato, you don't need Aristotle, you don't need you don't need liberalism or neoclassical thought, diba, in your law studies. But what you need is the discipline, the traits, the values that were taught to you by the subjects, and more importantly, by your professors.
That was wonderful po, Judge. I remember one of my profs said na your professors know that it's humanly impossible to finish your readings, but what they want you to know is that you can develop that reading further, that you cannot finish it, but what you can do is to hone that specialty of reading, of understanding the text, not memorizing it, of course, but by really understanding it and taking it into heart. So that was very nice po, Judge. Siguro, I have two more follow-ups po. Do you think that being a lawyer and also a political scientist can go hand in hand, since you are also teaching political science po in the academe?
I think, yes. There's no prohibition, there's no Chinese wall between the discipline of political science and law. Because one thing connects them, and that is what? That's civic consciousness. Pol sci teaches you how to be aware and how to be informed, how to participate in government. Law is the same thing, right? It's all about civic culture, how to participate in government. In pol sci, you may be an activist, you may be working inside the government in an NGO or in a private institution, but nothing changes. You still wanted, diba, collective action for purposes of affecting change. In law school and in lawyering, it's the same. You want to pinpoint what's wrong with the law in order to change it for the betterment of the people, for the betterment of the marginalized and the underserved. So I don't think that the discipline is something that the discipline of law is something that is separated or necessarily divorced from the discipline of pol sci, because it is tied by that particular concept, the concept of civic culture, the concept of civic consciousness, and the concept of democracy, representation, and among else, the love for country.
That's true, Judge. And siguro, the last po for this question is, when we're watching movies or Netflix, especially now in pop culture wherein the lawyer is I guess, romanticized, like let's say Judge or Legally Blonde, The Paper Chase, How to Get Away with Murder, Suits, and my personal favorite, and I know that Ange can relate, To Kill a to Kill a Mockingbird, and especially Attorney Atticus Finch. We see this figure of the lawyer as someone in a sharp suit. He's making his ending case, his ending arguments in court. He's trying to persuade the people. And I guess it's been romanticized nga po in pop culture and especially in film. So, my question po is, what are the realities or the things that a pol sci student like us should expect in the profession, or even if as a law student?
Okay, I'll tell you what's real and what's not. Okay, what you see lawyers wearing, the glamorous clothes, the suits, the tires, the barong Tagalog na gusot mayaman, diba? The slacks, the girl skirt, diba? The corporate snappy attires, those are all real. You can see a lawyer that's a lawyer that's not properly dressed for the occasion, especially for hearings, because that is part of our ethics. We are required to be at all times, to be, at least when we're practicing law, to be in proper attire that's worthy of the respect of the court. So that's real. So if you want to be a very fashionable lawyer, that's something that's true. So you can purchase your clothes at Zara, or you can parade your Prada, but that's okay. Now, one thing that's not correct, and this is something that all my colleagues would agree, is the fact that when you go to court, most often than not, you don't prove your case. You don't argue with the jury or with the judge with a Greek style teaching, Plato, Aristotle, addressing the crowds in the market, saying, but Your Honor, the people are dying. There's no such thing, diba? Because about a half or 3/4 of the hearings in court, diba, are postponed. So you only go to court to say it's either the other party is asking for postponement, or you are asking for postponement. So most often than not, what you hear is, Your Honor, MOTEX, motion for extension. You're asking for an extension. Because lawyering is not 90 or 70% court hearings. You don't win your battles in the courtroom. You win your battles in your offices. Because 50%, I think more than that, about 50% of lawyering is typing and writing your pleadings, your papers filed in court. Another 50% or 40% is your appearance in court. So you don't get the misimpression that when you're a lawyer, you can, diba, enter with the spotlight with you and argue with the judge or with the opposing counsel until you win your case. No, that hardly happens right now, because we have a very slow process. Although the court is doing its best to address the slowness of our litigation process, but still, the reality is still majority of the hearings are being cancelled. So you don't get to do Elwoods, you don't get to do, diba, how to get away with murder. Those are suits, diba? What you get is Your Honor, extension po. That's what you get.
Thank you so much, Judge, for that. And for our next question naman po, actually, just to have a little icebreaker lang, no? It's really funny po kasi Jeho and I really take interest in, being fashionable. And I think we can really relate to really looking dashing as a lawyer. And I think that it's true that when we are finally at that stage where we're lawyers, it's not exactly as easy as it is in films. Kaya I really am grateful for hearing the reality po. I think every one of us who are dreaming to be lawyers, we really need to be open to the reality of it outside of the films, outside of these inspirational quotes by fictional lawyers. Kaya back to our next question naman po. So I think we have to debunk some misconceptions here before and while we are taking up the course. Judge, can you please share something po about your experience in law school that makes you reminisce on the lessons and theories taught in the discipline of political science?
Okay. As I've said before, diba? In law school, you won't need Plato, Aristotle, you won't need sustainable development, you won't need, diba, conflict, you don't need development, green whatever. Well, you won't even use them. You will use them here and there, but not the entirety of it. Okay. So as I've said, you focus on the learnings, the values, the training that you get from Pol Sci. Now, I remember during my first year, very useful ang Pol Sci sa akin. Why? Because there was, we have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 subjects. It's persons, Grim 1, Consti, StatCon, and a legal field. Those are 5 subjects. And all those 5 subjects would give us about 30 cases and at least a book. About a book that we have to read for 100 pages. For all 5 subjects, at least for all 5 subjects. Okay? So we have to read, we have to do this, we have to do that. So the next day when we met with our friends, so we are Pol Sci students, 2 Pol Sci students, me and Eric and another friend. So, ang usual tanong sa law school is, natapos mo yung readings? Tapos, sila, ay hindi, hanggang page 80 lang ako. Ay hindi, hanggang dito lang ako sa kaso. Ay hindi, nasa ganito lang ako. Kaming dalawa nung kaklase kong Pol Sci graduate, bakit hindi na natapos? Kasi kami natapos namin. Diba? So, that's something na I think kasi nakuha na namin sa Pol Sci. But we have to finish it. And we have to cover everything. Diba? And we understood it. So, nung pag tinanong kami, sabi, natapos namin, magagalit sila sa amin kasi bakit nyo natapos? Anong ginagawa nyo? Bakit nyo natapos? So, natuto na lang kami magsinungaling na parang, natapos nyo ba? Ay, hindi. Ganoon na kami. Although, natapos namin siya talaga. Natapos na naman talaga namin siya. So, sabi ko sa yung discipline, the time management skills, the reading comprehension, those trainings and those values were very useful. Diba? When we proceeded in law school. Hanggang sa dulo, nagamit namin siya. Actually, hanggang ngayon, because I have to, as lawyers, you have to read pages and pages of documents, diba? And you can't afford to miss even a single period or even a comma, diba? So that is something that's very useful, diba? So thank those professors of yours right now who are giving you HELL in reading tons and tons of materials. Do not curse them. Or you may curse them now, but thank them later. Because there's one thing that they are trying to teach you, a value that you don't even know you need. So once you get to know them, and once you're able to master what they're teaching you, thank them naman. Okay?
Duly noted, Judge. And for our follow-up question naman po, what skills did you hone in political science that's also needed in law school or in the professions?
Time management. Time management is something that Pol Sci helped me hone. Diba? Mm-hmm. Especially when I was in Pol Sci, diba, I said that I'm a debater, I'm a forum officer, I'm a student. Diba? So I have to really cover my bases in order not to forget anything. So with that being said, I think that's the value that Pol Sci helped me develop, that helped me, diba? Until now. Diba? I don't know how am I doing this stuff. Diba? I teach in Pol Sci, I teach in law, I teach in LaSalle, I'm a judge in Malolos, I write a book, I'm a reviewer for the bar. So people are asking me, where do I get the energy or where do I get the time? It's just time management. And that's something that Pol Sci taught me. And that's something that they can never take away from me.
Actually, I couldn't agree more, no, Judge, that being active just by, for instance, me being a freshman, I am also taking part in the debate team. And I couldn't agree more that it really could be one big help for the future. Kasi I really think that the discipline and the principles that you learn throughout these hardships currently, it's really something that's going to shape you into something better in the future. Kaya, again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Judge. So, siguro, going back to time management, a little, I wouldn't say, a little bit off topic regarding time management. Sa tingin niyo po ba, Judge, na worth it na magka-jowa sa law school?
Yes.
Sabi ko na nga ba, ina-expect ko na yun.
Yes. Yeah,
Thank you,
actually,
Judge.
I can see it a mile away. Nung tumatawa ka pa lang, I know your question. And I know your question is a common. Diba? What can I say? You can sustain a love life while you're in Polsai. If you can do that, you can do that in Pascual. But as long as you know what your priorities are.
Agreed.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I can tell. By experience, I know. Yes, you can. My girlfriend back then was my girlfriend when I was in Polsai, was college, and until now when I married her. So,
Aww.
Okay.
kaya yan.
Nakaka-touch.
Just remember what things are important and stick on.
Grabe,
Diba? Yung
Judge.
parang-
Parang na-motivate kami doon. Magjojowa na
Yeah,
ako.
para ano lang. Hindi. Yung mga bagay na yan, hindi hinahanap, darating yan. At pag nakita mo, huwag mo makawalan. And something that you need to know is, diba, if that person is worth it, do not do anything that would question the trust that he or she has given you. Okay? So yun lang.
No, alam mo na, partner, ha? Sana nasagot na ni Judge.
Thank you, Judge. That's noted. But siguro going back again to our formal discussion, has studying in law school become a big shock for you, especially coming from Polsai? Syempre, we know the adjustments will be hard, especially, let's say, for example, studying in the law school of any of the big four universities. How has it come to you when you when you left one foot out the door out of Polsai and entered the other into law?
Actually, it's a big shock for me, for everyone. Diba? The reason why it's a big shock is this, diba? I'll tell you my frame of thought. When you finish elementary, diba, and you go to high school, you know that you don't know anything. You don't know algebra, diba? You don't know calculus, diba? You don't know, diba, advanced math, diba? So when you finish your high school and your senior high, wala kaming senior high, no? And when you go to college, you choose your course. You know that you don't know anything just yet, diba? Because you don't know the course. You don't have the specialized knowledge of that course has to offer you, diba? Kasi first year ka pa lang. Now, pag graduate ka ng college, you have a degree. You're a degree holder. You know something, right? When you go to law school thinking that you know something, the first thing that law school does to you is to make you realize that you don't know anything. At yun ang mahirap i-accept. Kasi you're a degree holder di ba? I graduated with honors, magna cum laude. Tapos sabihin sa akin ng isang prof, you don't know anything. I don't give a what. I don't care what you think, di ba? Pero, but I have a degree, di ba? Gaganon ka. So, the shock there comes from the fact that you thought you know something. Just to end up believing Socrates, that he's the wisest man on earth. That the only thing he knows is that he knows nothing.
Thank you so much, Judge. I couldn't agree more talaga that I myself really take that quote into mind that I don't know anything. I know nothing. No matter how much you know, no matter how much degree or how much achievements you would have, there will always be a certain challenge that life will give you and remind you that you don't know everything. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it is an opportunity for you to have the motivation to learn even more. Kaya honestly, all that I can say to myself, Judge, that we really hope that we can survive Pol-Sci first as well before we think about that. So, Judge, I know that being a lawyer is very challenging po, and as well as the journey of being one, considering the long hours of readings, the stress, the competitive job market, or even having a life outside from work. So, ask ko lang po sa partner ko, ikaw naman, partner, is this the sign you've been waiting for to proceed to law school?
Go signal na pwede mag-jowa sa law school kaya. No, pero I would say na this would be one of my culminating, or it would be up there as a calling. Kasi actually before nga naman talaga, when I was in elementary, what I wanted to be was a historian. I remember my graduation photo, or my creative shot for my graduation photo, was me holding a history book and a map. And then I said to myself, I wanted to be the director of the National Museum one day. And then as I reached grade 9, grade 10, kasi sa junior high, wala na tayong history, no? Slowly, nagiging Philippine economics siya, Philippine parang contemporary issues. So when I was in grade 9 and grade 10, I was exposed to contemporary issues in the Philippines, and I was exposed to law in general. Kasi I remember my prof, or my teacher before in Philippine contemporary issues, as a prerequisite, told us to memorize the preamble of the Constitution. And then syempre, ngarag kami kasi we were still junior high pa nun. And then, I guess that's where it all started. No? It started from this liking into, this looks like a very interesting book. And then soon to realize na, you're reading the Constitution, you're reading the feudal sense, you're starting to read cases and stuff, and it's really, it's a nice, I guess, it builds me up. It's a ladder that will build me up. Hopefully, after 4 years, I'll be able to go into law school, and yeah, practically. Ikaw ba, partner?
Judge, oo nga, partner. I agree with that kasi talagang noon din, I would never expect talaga na I would go into liking law and wanting to pursue being a lawyer. And alam ko sa sarili ko na it won't be easy kasi honestly, the first thing that influenced me to want law is that I was exposed to reading a very, very old book of Constitution, the civil law Constitution. And I thought to myself, I never really knew what this book means or why we even have it. And then the more that you explore the depths of law, you just kind of become hooked to it, that knowing that with this, you can actually do something about it, about every single thing that you could stumble upon to, that maybe there's a chance that I can do something about it. And it's not going to be easy, but just this podcast itself is going to be a big help to us political science students, because we would know what we would really want. Mostly from our guests, syempre, they would tell us all of their different jobs, different experiences, and it's really a very big help for us. Kaya with that, Judge, we would like to ask, do you think that Pol-Sci should be appreciated as its own school and not as just something that you've taken up to get into law school? And because oftentimes we see both as the same thing, or that is inevitably always leads into the other.
Okay. Both postulates are correct. Pol-Sci can either be a means to an end, but Pol-Sci can also be an end in it by itself. If you graduate with a bachelor's of arts with a political science degree, you can stop and not pursue law, and you'll be okay. There's a lot of opportunities for you. You could go to the government, you could go to NGOs, you could go to corporate, you could do a lot of things. But if you want to make your Pol-Sci as a means to an end, meaning you want to use your Pol-Sci degree to take up law, or as you said, your classmate to take up medicine, go ahead, there's nothing wrong with that. But never ever think of poli as merely a means to an end. Because as I've said, poli can be an end to itself or by itself. But you can be a political scientist. It is a very noble profession.
Thank you, Judge. And this next question is a very, very important question that every single audience of ours are waiting for. Kasi in your myriad of experiences as a lawyer and being an active student, what advice can you give to those political science students who want to also become lawyers but are discouraged either through fear or feeling unprepared?
Okay. Sige. Even without that volatility at the end, because they're afraid, etc., etc. The number one thing that I could, the number one advice that I could give poli students right now to prepare them for life after poli, either if they want to go to law school, go further studies, MA, etc., etc. The number one advice that I would give is to enjoy your poli journey. Diba? Huwag kang magiging grade conscious, appreciate your friends, laugh, drink if you're legally allowed to, drink within normal limits, have
Go
fun.
signal po ba ito, Judge?
Ay, no, it's not kaya kasi within legal limits, diba? You're responsible adults right now, diba? Enjoy your 4 years in poli. Diba? Life is too serious to be taken seriously.
Agree.
Okay? So enjoy your poli years. That enjoyment entails you joining organizations, extracurricular organizations. Don't be happy with just being a member of poli forum. Go out, find yourself, what you're good at. Look, participate in the events. If you don't want, and just be in poli forum, be an active participant, be an active member of the forum, because they will harness your potential, and you will learn a lot about yourself. And in doing so, in learning things about yourself, you get to develop, you get to learn, and eventually you get to be ready for bigger things to come. So that's the number one thing that's the only thing I want to impart to everyone. Enjoy. Don't stress out on grades. Ba? Sabi nga na aking kaibigan, the former poli forum president, grades are man's futile attempt to measure the immeasurable.
Agreed.
So, wow. Diba? So parang, what's the point? Diba? Of course, because that's the only system that we have to live with it. So gawin natin, go ahead, sige, di ba? Ako noon, debate. Ako doon because I love to debate. I debated, a class ko is 11 to 3 during my second year, 11 to 3. From 3 to 9 p.m., 3 in the afternoon to 9 p.m., nagde-debate lang kami sa Colaico Park. Hindi ko na alam kung saan Colaico Park. Pero we debated all day from Monday to Saturday. Tawag na sa amin addict. So, yes, addict ang tawag sa amin. So, ayun, I enjoyed my 4-year stay. Diba? I have good friends. I still talk to them. Diba? And I have no regrets. I was happy for it. And I was able to discover who I am, my potentials. But I was able to use them when I went to law school, when I became a lawyer, and when I became a judge. Right? Everything will fall into place. Just enjoy what you're doing.
I agree with that, Judge. I think the main thing talaga na would make someone feel so discouraged is when they get a low score at something. Lalo na po dun sa blackboard, just the color system there na, color red, baksak ka, or color yellow, not good enough. I feel like that is the very main thing as to why there are some students who are so scared talaga to even pursue it, because of the grades.
Don't be scared. Kasi, alam nyo, actually there was a time na yung grade na nakuha namin is 4. Sa paper, over 100. 3, 26. Sa POLSI yan, although malungkot kami kasi di pa pinaghirapan namin. Pero still, that's something not to stress out. Kasi alam mo, kaya mo naman eh. Saka, one thing more that I've learned from POLSI, I almost forgot. I need to say this because this is something it's a POLSI thing. Sa POLSI kasi, once you fail a subject, usually yung prof mo iti-take mo siya with the same prof kung wala kang magawa. Kung siya lang yung nagtuturo ng subject na yun. So, for example, pumasok ka kay Sir Amir, usually kay Sir Amir mo siyang kunin on a regular class kung hindi ka nag-special, special class. So, pagdating sa law school, di ba? Pag nakita mo yung ibang estudyante kasi, pag nakita nila, eto yung prof, i-drop na nila. POLSI hindi. Basta mo ako, babaksa ko sa'yo, ikaw pa rin magiging prof. Next sem, ikaw ulit yung magiging prof. Next sem, ikaw pa rin yung prof ko. Okay rin lang. Diba? We take life as it is. We don't take shortcuts. That's something that POLSI has taught us. That's why in our Pol Thought, we read the original text of the Republic, of Machiavelli's The Prince. We don't read spark notes nung panahon namin. Ewan ko lang sa inyo. I don't know about some of you, pero we don't take the easy road. That's why even if it's difficult, we persevere. That's something that POLSI has taught us, at least me.
I agree po, Judge. Sabi nga nila, di ba? Tsaka pati, your profs already know the shortcuts. They've already tried it. They've done it. So there's no parang wala na daw nga po takas. And that's actually nice nga po. We have to take not everything with a grain of salt. And just continue to push on, to carry on lang talaga. And yun nga, we take life as it is, no shortcuts. And I really agree with that saying. So siguro moving on po, Judge. So we've already moved out of the college arena. Now siguro let's focus po a little more on any tips or study hacks that you can give to political science students who are planning to enter law or work as lawyers after.
Okay, study hacks. Find the most effective study habit for you. Because there's no one-size-fits-all kind of strategy. There are different kinds of learners. There are auditory, there's visual learners, there's auditory, there's diba? There are verbal learners, diba? Na mas sa discussion, mas natututo sila kaysa sa nagbabasa. Mas natututo yung iba sa pag nag-lecture. Diba? Iba-ibang klaseng learners yan. Find what kind of learner you are and focus on that. Kasi if you are a listener, auditory ka, diba? You listen. So make sure that every time that there is a discussion, you're there and you listen. Diba? You don't even need to take down notes because yun yung strength mo. You learn more in listening rather than in taking down notes. If you are a visual one, diba? You could take down notes kasi dun yung strength, that's the kind of learner you are. Sabi ng kaibigan ko, I can never forget this. Don't study hard, study smart. Because if you study hard, mahirapan ka lang. Gamitin natin ang utak natin. Diba? So when you study smart, diba? Find out what kind of learner you are and stick with that. Number 1. Number 2, find out what time of the day your most effective and efficient time for studying. There are night owls, there are early birds, there are midnight delights. Diba? Find out kung saan pinaka-optimal yung brain for learning. Kasi I'm a midnight owl. I study from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. That's my study period. Okay? May mga kaibigan ko na merong morning, may mga early birds. 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. Yun ang aral nila. May mga midnight delights naman na nakakapag-aral lang after lunch or during the midday. Diba? Kasi nasa yan ako, the reason why I'm a night owl is because there is less distraction during midnights. Walang TV, walang gising, walang mangungulit, walang mag-uutos, walang masyadong bukas na establishments, less distractions from you. Diba? So that's one thing. So, what kind of learner, what time of the day are you most efficient? The third one is the place. Find the optimal place. Starbucks is not an optimal place. Pinapakita mo lang sa ibang tao na nag-aaral ka. Nagpahanap ka lang ng taong makaka-hook up mo o nagpapakit. Huwag ka dyan kung mag-aaral ka. Find your sweet spot. If it's the library, it's the library. If it's a stool behind the car park, it's the stool behind the car park. Ba? Ako noon, wala na siya ngayon, pero nandun ako sa second floor ng Wendy's. Every 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Kasi, nakakain ako, wala masyadong tao kasi mahal yung bilihin. So, nandun lang ako. Mag-isa akong nagdi-dinner, tapos doon ako nag-aaral. Diba? Tapos, 24 hours siya. So, hindi naman nila ako pwedeng paalisin kasi hindi naman sandabukal yung taong pumapasok doon. Diba? Pero ang na-realize ko sa akin is I'm not an effective student while at home. Because sabi ko nga, masyadong malakas yung tawag ng kama. Alam mo yung titignan mo pa lang yung kama mo, biglang sasama ka, hihiga ka na, tapos hindi ka makakapag-aral. So find those things, those small things. Those are effective ways on how you can optimize your learning abilities. The kind of learner you are, the time of day you have to study, and the place, the venue. That's very important.
Thank you, Judge. Ito naman susunod po natin. It's really going to connect dun sa sinasabi niyo po, Judge, kasi it will be the reason kung bakit po may mga nagpupuyat.
Okay.
So the readings we have now are pale into the comparison to the readings in law school. And I remember the Filipino movie, Bar Boys, which showed a mountain of papers on their first day of reading. And grabe, Judge. Gusto lang po talaga namin i-clarify kasi namumroblema na agad kami. Ganun po ba talaga kakapal or may ikakapal pa po ba?
May ikakapal pa yon, depende sa professor. Diba? Yung nakita nyo sa Bar Boys as to the amount of work, that's true. Yung nakita nyo sa Bar Boys, yung umiyak yung babae, yung parang, okay ka sana iha, nag-invest ka sa damit, sana mag-invest ka rin sa alka. That's also true. Diba? Kasi, ang tawag doon, professors are there not to be cruel. Professors are there to teach you lessons. Lessons not to discriminate, of course, or not to demean people, but to accept that there are people like that, and how to react to people like that is your fault.
Thank you, Judge. As medyo kinakabahan na po kami. But then at the same time, it's really relieving to hear po, mostly with someone with experience, kasi it really gives us a lot of tips on what really to expect in law school and the hardships, the unexpected things that we will stumble upon it. Kaya again, thank you, Judge. And now, let's welcome po our student reactors to be announced by my partner.
It would be my pleasure, partner. Now, we would like to ask for Miss Isa Dominique Solihon and Mr. James Aguaras from 1Pol 2 and 1Pol 3 respectively, currently political science freshies, to hear their reactions and insights. Take it away, James.
So first of all po, I would like to thank Judge Rigor for the insights that he has given me. So share ko lang, ever since I was grade school, around grade 5, grade 6, I've always had the interest in law. And at first, sinasabi ko sa sarili ko na I will become a lawyer, become this, I will become that. And to be honest, dahil lang siya sa films and pop culture na surrounding law. And then as I grow up, the more events na nangyayari, the more ako na-immerse sa reality. And may part pa rin sa akin na growing up, sinasabi ko na yung mga napapanood ko in films is totoo pa rin siya, somewhat it still happens. But tonight, those new realizations have been given to me thanks to Judge Rigor. And the good thing na there's a actual lawyer who told me that there's a big difference between reality and expectations. So, pero it still doesn't change the fact na I will still pursue law. It's been a lifelong childhood dream of mine to become the lawyer. And same with one of our hosts. If I pass the bar, hope to God, I'll be the first lawyer in the family. So, ayun po. It's just refreshing lang po sa pakiramdam knowing na there's things to expect in law school. There's things to fear as well. Pero that's part of the journey nga po, the excitement and the thrill knowing na there will be something new and unexpected to occur in the law school life po. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Doms. Ikaw, what can you say?
So thank you so much, Cheho, for introducing me, and it's an honor to meet you, Judge Rigor. As for my reaction on this, I would just say na, it was during grade 10 that I started getting interested with law, politics, governance, because I was greatly influenced by my peers, my friends that have these such strong advocacies, and that being this clueless grade 10 student that I am, it was like a calling for me na I also have to be a part of it. But others tend to not to continue with those advocacies. But for me, I took it as an opportunity to take it as a path that I would go through during my life, and now I am taking political science as my college degree program. So a little bit about me wanting to take law is that it is hilarious. I find it hilarious that back in junior high school, I became interested in law because I saw these piles of law books from a family friend who's currently studying law. I looked at the books and I was like, those were hardbound. The covers were hardbound, and it looked pretty. The law books looked pretty, and when I browsed through the pages, there were a lot of words that I really cannot understand. It was so confusing, but the words looked pretty to me too. So I was like, so I guess law school might be for me because it was so interesting. It was like pulling me towards law. And as it was mentioned earlier, na political science and law sometimes became are interrelated, and that a lot of people mistake law and political science as something the same. And okay, I was a part of those people before. Kind of embarrassing, but yes, I'm learning na it's really different. So as for me right now in UST, I would say na your advice about being active in the campus in terms of extracurricular activities, I can really relate to that because I'm part of 4 organizations. I'm part of the Political Science Forum, ABSC, two advocacy organizations, which are Hiraya and UST UNESCO. And I find myself having no choice but to manage my time because my life cannot just revolve on extracurriculars because I have also my responsibilities as a student in the academe, and I was also a former block president in one pol too. So I think that it's really a great help that I'm starting to involve myself more in the Tomasian community by entering these organizations, and it is helping me build up my own mechanisms when it comes to learning and having to manage my personal time, because these two are something that I used to struggle with back in high school. So since since you've mentioned that debate has helped you, I mean, I'm going to be in second year next school year, so I guess it wouldn't hurt to join the AV debate parliament and make my organizations into 5. I mean, I can handle it because I view things as each things that come to me are opportunities, and it is up to me how am I able to handle it. And I think that this discussion was really helpful as a political science student, because I have attended webinars that is about law school, and most of the time it's more on what to do on law school, what are the advice that we could get from those speakers, and not exactly bridging political science and law school as something that's something which can be interrelated, and something, even if they are different disciplines, they can coexist in one platform. So for that, I think that even as a freshman, even as a person who just turned 18 and knowing really nothing about life, and having to enter law school in the future, this discussion really helped me on how I will be able to manage myself, and how I'm going to bring what I've learned here in political science and bridge it over to law school, because even I know that what I'm learning right now isn't enough that would bring me to law school. And this is helping me weighing things out. How am I going to decide on what I'm going to be in the future? Because as you said earlier, that it is up to us whether we see political science as a means to an end, or it could be another beginning for us to transfer into something such as law school. And this discussion was helping me in ways that I know that I must stay in this path. I mean, I can also explore different paths when it comes to political science, because political science itself is diverse. But this discussion about law school makes me feel like that I'm going through the right path. I'm walking through the right path, which involves my passion and my love for having to read a ton of readings, a pile of readings, and having to experience it all over again, but twice or maybe thrice more during law school. And I really thank you for bringing light into this subject, because it is hard to find someone who would relate what in the position I am right now and the position that I could be in the future. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doms and James, and thank you for allowing us to invite you po, Judge Rigor Pascual. Pero before we officially end our session po, may advice po ba kayo or anything to add? Baka gusto niyo po kaming bigyan ng konting pasilip sa mga readings.
Hintay kayo. Hindi, your first year, right? You're freshmen, right? You're freshman students, right? Enjoy the ride. That's all I can say. Enjoy the ride. The hardships, the ups and downs, the professors, the lessons. Just enjoy everything. Diba? That's because you can never survive this without first enjoying what you do, and number 2, keep your friends close, your classmates close. Diba? There's a reason why at the end of college, at the end of your pol-sci career, usually mga magkakabatch, nag-iiyakan yan, nag-ayakapan. Kasi yan yung support system yun. They are the only people who know what you're dealing with. Sila, alam nila kung anong pinagdadaanan nyo. So, sila yung support system yun. So, take care of yourself, take care of your friends, and enjoy the ride.
Thank you, Judge. Kahit medyo natakot po kami.
Totoo. Pero thank you very much, Judge. And now, Ange, before we end, I want to ask you naman your perspective as an aspiring lawyer. And knowing how rigorous and stressful the work of a lawyer is, and after everything na napakinggan natin kanina, our questions that were answered, would you still like to pursue law? Are you still going for that attorney at the end of your name?
You know what, buddy? Ang pinaka na-realize ko, and this has been something that I think may be helpful to you guys as well, that I have always believed, is that you don't get people to stand up on their own 2 feet and adopt responsibility if everything is given to them. And then that's a real conundrum. And I truly believe that no matter the hardships we face throughout the process, I really think that we must always remain diligent because everything is a lesson. We must always remain open. And another thing is, buddy, it's a really scary, it's a really scary ride towards our future. But at the same time, I'm so excited to see us one day holding this trophy to say that, oh, we did it. We did it. And sometimes we need advice from others, and mostly those with experience talaga. Kaya syempre, andito tayo sa POLeisipan Career Path Podcast Series to answer all of your questions and to take a breather and to be reminded the most important thing of all, you are not alone.
Well said, buddy. Well said. I couldn't put it, better. And siguro naman for me, I learned 3 things, or I could summarize our talk a while ago in 3 things. One was to learn to love the unlovable. I think this is really a challenge for all of us since we're all freshmen. We've already seen our readings are, let's say, mga 20 pages na, or let's say, siguro mga 20 to 50 pages, and we're already getting tired, and we're already, our eyes already are getting strained. And then only do we know na parang it will get harder along the way. Those 20 readings will become 100. Those 100 will become, let's say, 5 chapters. Those 5 chapters will become one whole book. And siguro, the thing I can say about learning to love the unlovable is that it will take time. It will really take time for us to adjust. We're still freshmen. It will really take time for us to learn to accept these readings, these assignments, these tasks. Though they may be quite, the head shaker, but I would say that it would still be really part of the ride, as Judge Pascual said a while ago. Second would siguro be present my side, even in the dimmest of cases. Especially now, in our world wherein everything looks so dim, everything looks so troublesome, everything is really there's nothing in this world that has been untouched by trouble. And knowing that we are in the right, or knowing that we have this opportunity to study, to dive into why the Filipino is like this, or to dive into the current system that the Philippines is in, we somehow gain this eureka moment, or this light bulb, the cartoon. And siguro that light bulb represents us not being enlightened, but instead being this new light in this really dark world. Kasi sabi nga nila, diba, even the smallest candlelight put in the corner of the room will already be able to illumine the dark room. And I think that's our job, really, as political science students as well. We are to be catalysts of this world. We are to be game changers, no? Kasi syempre, we're Gen Z, we have to, parang ang sabi nila, ang dami daw na lots of people already look up to us, and syempre si Rizal pa nga nagsabi na ang kabataan ng pag-asa ng bayan. And I guess it's very cliche, but it's something that we're always reminded of, no? And the last lesson that I learned is what Judge said a while ago, na life is too serious to attain, or life is too serious to entertain seriously. And I guess this is really a wake-up call for me. Lalo na, syempre, I mean, there's nothing wrong with achieving or wanting to achieve, let's say, a Dean's Lister or even Latin Honors. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you know to yourself that you're getting tired, if you know to yourself that the workload for you or the road to getting a DL is already getting tiresome, then don't continue it. You can always be your own Dean's Lister. You can always be your own honoree in some other way. It not maybe academic. You can You can experience it in orgs. You can experience it even in friends. No, when they say, "No, thank you for helping me." I honestly, that's already an achievement in itself for me.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
yeah, I really have to be reminded of this kasi syempre, we're all starting fresh. We're all starting new, and we of course we all want to attain that gold, that medal. But we always have to remember that we grow, we run in our own pace. And there's this African proverb that I would like to end with. It said that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And I guess, yun nga, going back to what Judge said a while ago, it's really about the people that you surround with. It's about your friends. It's about your support group. It's about your family as well. It's in our moment of, let's say, rock bottom, or it's in our moment of brokenness that we truly find those people who will serve as our glue. They glue us back together. They hold us up. They serve us this foundation for us to continue to push our walk in the academe and as well as law. So siguro that's a really nice way to end our discussion and to really sum up everything that we've learned today.
Grabe, partner. How can I top that all? Come on. Just kidding. But I couldn't agree more talaga, partner, with that. And honestly, I know that this podcast will touch a lot of us students talaga, mostly those who are really struggling to find their flow.
And that is it. A very big thank you again for tuning into our third episode. And truly, we have a very fruitful discussion thanks to Judge Rigor's interesting insights. I also believe that our speaker was able to clarify to us some expectations we should have regarding law as a profession. And we hope that this will be useful, especially to our seniors and even to those undergraduates who want to get that attorney at the end of their name. Don't you think, Ange?
You got that right, partner. And I am also glad that we had this session with you, Judge. And this episode truly was very engaging. And once again, thank you, Judge Rigor Pascual, and to our student reactors and to our dear listeners for having the time to listen to our episode. But tune in on to our next episode when we talk about the international relations only here in POLeisipan Career Path podcast series.
Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on Spotify and YouTube. Also, if you haven't followed and liked our social media accounts at UST-TPSF on Facebook and at UST_TPSF on Instagram and Twitter, make sure to do so you'll never miss an episode. I hope we've untangled yet another POLeisipan inside your head. Till next time, get vaccinated, stay safe, vote wisely, and we'll see you all next year, hopefully. See ya!
You guys.
Bye.